She invited them to lunch. She cooked for them, set the table, served them individually plated portions, smiled across the table, and watched them eat. Within hours, all 4 of them were in hospital. Within a week, 3 of them were dead. And Erin Patterson went home, threw away the evidence, wiped her phone, and told police she had no idea what happened. This is the Beef Wellington murders, and it is one of the most calculated and chilling crimes Australia has ever seen. It is July 29th, 2023, the small town of Leongatha, Victoria, about 85 miles southeast of Melbourne. Erin Patterson, a 48-year-old mother of 2, has invited her estranged husband's family over for a Sunday lunch. The guests are Dawn and Gail Patterson, her former in-laws, both 70 years old, Heather Wilkinson, Gail's sister, age 66, and Heather's husband Ian, a local church pastor, age 68. Erin's husband Simon was also invited. He pulled out the day before. The menu was beef Wellington, steak wrapped in mushroom paste and pastry, served with mashed potato and green beans, individual portions for each guest, and a different plate for Erin, smaller, different color. The survivor, Ian Wilkinson, would later tell the court that he noticed this detail. Erin ate from her own plate. Her guests ate from theirs. By that evening, all 4 guests were violently ill, vomiting, diarrhea. They went to hospital the next morning. Within days, they were in induced comas as their livers began shutting down. Toxicologists identified the cause immediately. Death cap mushrooms, Amanita phalloides, among the most poisonous fungi on Earth. There is no antidote. Once the toxin enters your liver, it begins destroying cells one by one. Death can take days. Gail Patterson died on August 4th. Heather Wilkinson died on August 4th. Dawn Patterson died on August 5th. Ian Wilkinson survived after almost 2 months in intensive care. Erin Patterson also went to hospital. Briefly, she reported stomach pains, but her symptoms were nothing like her guests. Doctors were so concerned they called the police. She discharged herself against medical advice. Then she went to a recycling facility and dumped a food dehydrator. Police found it weeks later in a landfill. Her fingerprints were on it. Inside it were traces of death cap mushrooms. Her phone records showed she had visited a public nature website that maps the exact locations of wild mushrooms, including death cap mushrooms growing in a nearby town, in the days before the lunch. Her kitchen contained weighing scales consistent with measuring out portions, and here's the detail that stopped everyone cold. Before the lunch, Erin had told one of her guests that she had been diagnosed with cancer, a lump on her elbow. She said she needed advice on how to tell her children. The prosecution told the court she invented the cancer story as the reason for the lunch. She did not think her guests would live to contradict it. Erin Patterson stood trial in 2025 for 10 weeks. She took the stand for 8 days and said the whole thing was a terrible accident, that she had foraged some wild mushrooms weeks earlier, dried them in her dehydrator, stored them in a container, and then accidentally added them to the meal, thinking they were safe mushrooms she had bought from a shop. She said she panicked. She lied to police out of fear. She dumped the dehydrator because she was afraid of being blamed. The jury deliberated for 6 days. On July 7th, 2025, they found her guilty on all 4 counts, 3 murders and 1 attempted murder. On September 8th, 2025, a judge sentenced Erin Patterson to life in prison, with a minimum of 33 years before she can apply for parole. She will be 83 years old before she is eligible for release. The motive was never fully established in court. She and Simon had separated years earlier but remained on speaking terms. No will, no affair, no obvious financial gain, just a lunch, individual plates, and a dehydrator thrown in a dumpster the same week her in-laws were dying in hospital. Ian Wilkinson, the pastor who survived, sat in that courtroom for 10 weeks and watched Erin Patterson deny everything. He had sat across the table from her, eaten her food, trusted her enough to come to her home. He said after the verdict that he hoped the families could now begin to heal. Do not eat at someone else's house this week. That is the case. Nova out.